Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. There are more chisels on the market, so let's put them to the test. So for those of you who don't know, I've done the most comprehensive test of chisels ever. I had 42 different chisels that I've put through the ringer to see which one is the best. I started doing the testing about 5 years ago, and as more chisels come onto the market, I occasionally do an update video. Now, I'm not going to go into the details on how the test is performed again. If you want to see that, I've got a bunch of videos actually going into detail and showing that. I even have one live video showing an entire series of testing. I'll leave links to those down in the description. But just so you know, unlike most chisel tests, my goal is not to say, here is the best chisel ever made, go buy it. There is no best chisel ever made because everyone out there has different things that are important to them. Also, I personally hate it when some magazine puts out a test and the answers to them are all very subjective of this seems like it does better than this. But why? I want to see numbers. I want to see objective data. Big, beautiful spreadsheets. So my goal for the test is not to determine what is the best chisel for you, but to put all of the data out there and create a method that you can actually put in what is important to you and find out which of these chisels fits your style. So in all of this testing, my goal is to create an objective number about the different characteristics of the chisel. The 6 different parameters that I'm testing: number 1, price; 2, feel; hardness; sharpenability; keenness; and durability. The cool thing is, all I'm doing is putting numbers to all of those on here, and then on the spreadsheet, which I'll take you to in a little bit, you can actually go through and put weights. How important are each of these characteristics to you? And depending upon what your weight is, it will reorganize the sheet so that you can find out what floats to the top for you. And if you've been around the channel, you probably know I said in the past, I'm probably not going to do another update to the chisel test. That was a bad thing to say. Because, well, here we are. And the thing that really brought it to me was when I was sent this chisel from Zen Wu. Luke, who owns the company, is a friend of mine, and he sent me this as a friend. And I really love the chisel. It's one of the most beautiful chisels I've ever played with. And I thought, wow, this is a really cool, beautiful chisel. I'm not going to use it because it's too pretty to use. I mean, it's got this beautiful carving, the collar on here, the charring on the handle, and of course it's got this inlaid steel that's put in with dovetails. This is a beautiful piece of hardened steel, but the main body is actually titanium. And Luke said, no, it's meant to be used. It's meant to be abused. This is one of the most durable chisels you'll ever come across. And I thought, no, it's too pretty for that. Pretty chisels aren't durable. So I figured, let's take him at his word. I've been chopping every large mortise with this, the oak mantle, the mortises on my new bench top, and really pounding with this with a massive hammer, pounding and bashing on this, expecting it to split at any moment. And after all that, it really has very few signs of wear and tear. It has stood up beautifully to it. The crazy thing came after owning it for about a year. I realized I've only sharpened this thing twice, and I bash on this with mortises and it's still really sharp. There's no way it's really that good. But thankfully, hey, I've got a sharpening system, so I'm going to run it through the test and see what comes out. And the numbers that came out honestly scared me. There's no way viewers will actually believe the numbers that are coming out on how durable this chisel actually is. So I didn't put out the video because honestly it kind of scared me to put out something that was that impressive. There's something wrong with my system. There's something that has to have come up that I did wrong. I said, you know what I need to do is I need to get the other 2 chisels that Zen Wu sells, and I'll run those through the test because these are made from a different steel, and so maybe that will show something is wrong. And right about the time I got ready to do those, Mike from Tay Tools sent me this chisel. That looks really familiar. Those of you that have been around the hand tool world for a while, and particularly those of you who know Paul Sellers, would kind of recognize this chisel. It looks familiar, except it doesn't say work zone right here. See, here's an old one that I have, and it says work zone on there, and I actually flattened out these 2 surfaces on there. Otherwise, it's identical other than a different wood on there, and even the shape of the iron is the same. The Aldi chisel was kind of seen as the go-to beginner's chisel because you could buy them at Aldi for a set for $7, and it was a surprisingly good chisel. It wasn't the best on the market, but the steel was decent, the handle was decent, and it provided a really good beginning point for a lot of woodworkers for many years. Paul Sellers started showing these to the masses, and every year on Father's Day, Aldi would come out with their set of chisels and they would sell out instantly. But then Aldi stopped selling them. And that's when Mike sent me this one, and he said, I think I may have found the original Aldi chisel, so maybe I can bring these back to the market. And if you know anything about Tay Tools, they are phenomenal about bringing affordable tools to the market. So I said, let's test it and find out. So enough of that talking, let's go up to my computer and show you what the test results are on all of these chisels.
So here we are at the spreadsheet, and I do have a link to this down in the description, so if you want to read through this in depth and look at some of the numbers in detail, I just want to explain how this sheet works so it makes a little more sense. This red area here, I'm going to come back to that in a moment, but we're going to move over here. Each one of these is different things about it. So you can see the link that we pulled from the current price. Some of those prices are a little out of date. I need to go through and correct them. Next, you can see, is it a tang or a socket? Some people like that. The next measurements here are kind of the parameters of the weight and balance of the chisel. So you can actually see its length, the distance of the balance point from the tip, and seeing what percentage. Some people like the weight to be up by the tip. Some people like it to be at the back. So you can kind of get an idea of where that is and how it would feel in your hand. Also, if you like your chisel to have a very, very small sidewall or a larger sidewall, you can see those numbers listed on here. The overall weight of the chisel, and these are the averages of all of the sharpenings. All of these chisels I've sharpened time and time and time again, and so you can see the minimum sharpening, the lower the number, the keener the edges, and the maximum, the higher the number, the duller the edges, and then it's average. So these numbers are where we pull the keenness numbers from. How sharp can you get that edge? Next, we have the hardness. All of the chisels are actually tested for their hardness. Some people really like the hardness number. I personally don't put a lot of weight into that. I find that different steels at different hardnesses produce wildly different durabilities and edges. So I don't look at that so much, but some people like that information. So sliding over a little bit, we have the sharpenability. This is basically taking the chisel, dragging it over the diamond plate and seeing how quickly does it remove material. In other words, how much can you take the material off, how quickly. And so we tested it very sharp, ran it once through, tested it again, ran it again and again and again, and each time pulled the number of how much material was taken off of the tip, so you get an idea of how easy is this steel to sharpen. And then everything else in this test is the durability. We tested this against Douglas fir, against hickory, and even way down here we tested it against lignum vitae. So this one, it was very interesting to see how different edges took it at different times. And then we also tested them at different angles from 20 degrees, 25 degrees, and 30 degrees to see what is the durability at different angles, because the higher your angle is, the longer your edge is going to last. But the lower the angle is, the easier it is to push through the work. So it's kind of one of those balancing points to find out where does this chisel perform at different angles. And then we can actually come down below all these numbers, slide back over here, and we can see the physical graphs of all of these. Just looking at the Douglas fir here, you can see the higher these spikes get, that's the higher the number, the duller it is. So you want these ones that have these low spikes way down here. And we can see the difference in Douglas fir, hickory, and the lignum vitae. As well as down here, we can compare the angles of each one, 20, 25, and 30, and you can get a really good idea about which ones are going to last. So I know these numbers are really hard to see on here. That's why you can go to the spreadsheet and change these around however you want. But let me first take you over here to these red numbers, because this is what it all boils down to. This is the important part of this sheet. So here we have the 6 parameters that we're testing: price, feel, hardness, sharpenability, keenness, and durability. Each one of them given a number out of this. And then way down here at the bottom, there are your values. This is the point where you can put your weight. How important is this to you? So for me, price isn't that important. I've gotten to the point in my life where, I can buy an expensive chisel. It's still interesting. In other words, it's a 2 out of 10. But for me, feel is the most important thing with a chisel. How it feels in my hand is really, really important to me. The hardness, I really don't put much on that. I put a 1 on it, but that is really not much. I probably would put a 0 for most things, but the hardness isn't that important to me. Sharpenability, I like that, but I use diamond plate, so it's not something that's that important. If you are working on just regular water stones, that might be more important. How easy is it to sharpen? Because some of these steels are very hard to sharpen. Keenness is rather important. I like to be able to get my chisel really, really keen for some of those fine works. But for most things, that's not that important. You can get most steels down to about the same keenness, where after a few strokes, they're all going to be around the same. The really important one for me is durability. That is, how long will this edge last? And so I've given that a 9. It is very, very important to me. But what you can do is you can actually come up here to File and then come down to Make a Copy. And if you make a copy of this, you can actually change these numbers to anything you want to actually see where do they shake out. And then all of these numbers in pink, these will then change to be what is the number for that chisel according to your weights. So right now for me, I have them balanced. You have all the variabilities and all the variabilities except for price. Because I know some people want to say, what's the best chisel out there? Well, if you remove the price and put your own weights down in here, you can find that out in here. Right now, they're all sorted by all their variabilities. So right now, the top two are both Zen Wu chisels. The X1, which is the most durable of all of them, is down a little bit because of its price. It's actually at a -2 price because it's the most expensive. It's a $300 chisel. Yeah. So yeah, it's a -2. And it's still, even with that, the second in the list. Whereas the next one up is a little more affordable at $70 a chisel, but its durability is a little bit less than the X1. And then number 3 down here, we have the Richter. Now that's only a $35 chisel. So for price point, that's actually really, really good. And it's a 9.8 on a durability, which is, I think, 3rd or 4th from the top of all chisels. But it's really interesting to see how these numbers all change when you change your weights. What is important to you? And then you can find out how do they shake out and fit to you. So I definitely say go up here to File, come down to make a copy of this, change the weights on it, and see how these numbers change. And then you can come up here and sort them by whatever their numbers are and see which ones float to the top or which ones suddenly fall down.
So yeah, I can no longer say that the Nerix Richters, some of my favorite chisels, are the best chisels in the market. Honestly, these are amazing chisels. And there's a reason why I've only had to sharpen this 3 or 4 times in the last year and a half. It is an incredibly durable chisel that lasts forever, and I can beat on this all day long, and it takes it and just keeps doing the work. Yeah, you just have to worry about the price. Thankfully, the step down is a little bit more affordable, and yeah, they do make those as well. But then it's up to you. What is most important to you on all of the characteristics? If you're going for price, the Richters are still really, really good. You can't beat the price for the quality. It's half the price of the cheap Zen Wu and just a step down in quality. But, you know, this chisel that Mike found really matches the Aldi. Those are very, very close chisels. So maybe if Mike does bring these back to the market, this will be a great contender for affordability. Even if it's twice the price of the original Aldi price, it would be one of the most affordable, decent chisels on the market. So stay tuned if this one comes out, because I'll definitely be letting you know. Otherwise, just keep an eye on Tay Tools. I'm sure he'll talk about it when it comes out. So if you want to find out which of the 46 chisels is the right chisel for you, I'll leave a link to the spreadsheet down below, and you can go look through all the numbers and figure out what you like on there. And then all you have to do is put your weights into it and sort the columns and find out what comes out top for you. Because everyone has different things that they want, different things that are important to them. And because of that, you should find out what's best for you, not what's best for me. And who knows, that might be the Irwin, though I highly doubt that. The thing I'm most interested to hear is, what do you guys find? When you actually look through the spreadsheet, what comes out top for you? Sort through the numbers and figure it out. And I'm really interested to see where it fits for you. Is something like a $300 chisel worth it? Or would you want to go down to something in the $30, $40 range? Or are you looking forward to that Aldi coming back on the market? That might be really interesting, especially if Tay Tools actually brands it for themselves. You could get a Tay Tools chisel. Who knows? We'll see what the future holds, and maybe I'll end up doing another chisel test in the future. Never say never, otherwise you'll probably end up getting to do it anyways. So throw your thoughts, comments, ideas, snide remarks down below, because those do help out the channel. I say this spiel every time, but it really means a lot. Anytime you like, comment, share, subscribe, helps out the channel, gets us in front of more people, algorithm, all those fun words. But if you really want to be amazing, wonderful, benevolent, gorgeous, and be one of those people who just shine throughout the cosmos, like all of those names over there, those are some of the fantastic, wonderful, benevolent people over on Patreon. And without patrons, we wouldn't exist. We're completely sponsored by you, and you're the reason why I can go and buy some of these chisels to actually do the test and find out what comes out. So I hope you like that, and if you'd like to find out more about that, then you can go down below, all the links to Patreon, or hit the like button or the join button down there. That really does help us out anytime you can financially support this channel, so I don't have to get sponsors, and I don't have to tell anyone about the amazing virtues of Buck Brothers because they're the ones sponsoring this channel. I get to say what I want to say about the chisels that I get to find. So if you like that, you know what to do. I think I'll do it for now. And until next time, have a wonderful day. I've often thought the Zen Wu name to be a bit of a odd conundrum. You know, Zen, quiet, contemplating, thinking about things in balance, and Woo!